Howdy folks, and welcome to the 8th episode of the Maddfuzzy podcast. I am your sock-obsessed host, Marta. I am coming to you, as always, from Knox, Maine, where I live with my handsome man, his wonderful mother, Betsy, and our two wonderful dogs, Truffle and White Dog. I am coming to you, as you probably can realize, pretty late. It has been probably one of the busiest months. Kind of the middle of September to the middle of October has just been insanity around the Shire here. And I have not really had 2 seconds home alone to really sit down and record. I realized how embarrassed I am about recording in front of my boyfriend and especially in front of his mother. So I had recorded an episode and then I didn't get it uploaded and events had kind of changed, and I knew this was going to be one of my only chances to record a podcast. I am currently home alone, and so I thought I would sit down for a few minutes and catch you up on pretty much an entire month's worth of knitting. It is a gorgeous day here in Maine. Classic fall, a little overcast, mostly sunny. As you can see, I am absolutely glowing right now. I am sitting in front of the big picture window in the house and staring out at just the perfect New England fall foliage. It is pretty much heading into the peak here and we are loving the colors. It's just gorgeous. I took the dogs for a little walk up back, and we have about 50 acres, and the road through those 50 acres just got redone by our neighbor, and so it was a gorgeous walk up through the woods with this brand new road. It was just absolutely perfect. So I am coming to you with tons of sock knitting today, just absolutely tons of sock knitting. I have quite a few finished objects. I have a few half finished objects. I have some works in progress and some acquisitions. Yeah, I actually bought some things and I'll get to those. A little bit of administration before we start here. You can find me most active on social media, which would be Instagram. You can find me there and Ravelry as Maddfuzzy. And you can find the podcast Ravelry group on Ravelry under Maddfuzzy Podcasts. And I've included a link to that in the down bar. So if you would like to join our members there, that would be fantastic. We have an ongoing giveaway happening in the Ravelry group. I am giving away a skein of Maddfuzzy to one of the first 100 introductions. And I'll show you that skein again. It's been a little while since I showed it. So this is Maddfuzzy, which is my made base. I selected the fleeces, I skirted the fleeces, I brought it to a mill. This is East Friesian Wool. It is a high twist 2-ply sock yarn, entirely 100% East Friesian. And because East Friesian has such a long staple length and is such a rustic wool or a hardy wool, this does not have any nylon and I don't think you're gonna need it. So this is the Into the Mystic colorway. I am so pleased with this. It's just this gorgeous colorway. This is 100 grams on the Pure Fuzzy 100% East Friesian base, and this will be going to one lucky introducer member who introduced themselves. Yes. So that could be yours if you've introduced yourself, and if you haven't, please do. We are at 60 introductions, so there are only 4 more chances or 40 more chances to enter. So stop on by the Ravelry group, introduce yourself. I have not been replying to keep the thread sort of the first 100, but after this giveaway happens, I will be in there saying hi and thanks for stopping by. But I am reading every introduction, and I would like to thank you again so much for stopping by and introducing yourself and taking that moment to let me know who you are and to let us all know who you are, and welcome to the group. I'd also like to give a big heya and welcome to any new viewers. Welcome to the Maddfuzzy podcast. This is a podcast about mostly knitting socks. I am an obsessed sock knitter, guilty as charged, and so everything that I have for knitting today is going to be socks. So if you love hand knit socks or are interested in hand knit socks, welcome. It is a good episode to be coming into because I have a lot of them. And if you are a returning viewer or a subscriber, thank you so much for sticking with me and coming back. I am so sorry it has been such a long break, but I am glad to be back in front of this camera and talking to you, and I hope that it hasn't been too long and you still remember what's going on. If not, I'll probably over-explain. It's been a while. I'm a little out of practice, but hey, c'est la vie. I've been busy. It's been a busy fall. Fall is always busy in Maine. It's sort of that last chance to wrap everything up before the snow flies. So let's get right into my knitting. I think I covered everything. Oh, no, I forgot something. As per usual, I always forget something. If you would like to email me, if there's something you have a question about, or you would like to donate a prize to an upcoming knit along or anything like that, you can always reach me at maddfuzzy@gmail.com. So feel free to send me an email if you have questions. Also, feel free to PM me on Ravelry, Instagram. I am not the best at computer stuff. I'm one of those people that would rather be outside. And I tend not to look at my social media as much as I probably should, being a podcaster. But if you have a little patience with me, I will be sure to respond to you. So thank you very much for anyone who has reached out and anyone who will in the future. I'm excited to talk to you. So let's get into knitting, right? That was a little bit of nonsense for a little while there. So I have two FOs. I have two FOs. I should. I mean, it has been a month, but I have my first one is my Maddfuzzy Gift Socks. So this is Maddfuzzy yarn. This is the pure fuzzy, 100% East Friesian. Dyed myself. These were a couple of test skeins I did, and then I thought they looked kind of nice together, and I really wanted to knit with my yarn, so I ended up casting these on. That's why the heel, the heel, the cuff, the toe is all a different color than the main body. And I was really worried that I was going to run out of yarn, so I did a little bit on the bridge of the foot, kind of looks like a Mary Jane, so that I could use a little bit more of this blue and a little bit less of this micro striping, heavily variegated black and white and blue. So this is just a vanilla sock. It is a pretty baggy sock in the cuff. The cuff is 64 stitches, and when I realized it was going to be so baggy, I really did decrease down to 60 for here. So that is why this gusset goes for like 1.5 miles. I mean, look at how long that is. I really do like it, and I like what it does in the micro striping, but holy cow, is a long gusset. And we've got my loved garter ridge that I got from the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern. Look at the colors in this. You know, it's turning out really, with the light outside this big window, it's really true to what it is in real life. So it's got a nice big cuff. I did block these. I never block anything, but I did because I really wanted to see what happened with my Maddfuzzy socks. Because I am testing out this wool. I'm the first person who has ever made this. You know, I need to know how it's going to react under any circumstances. And so I did block this before I showed it on the podcast. Here's the second one. And it softened up so nicely. Before I was thinking it was not going to be a good close to skin. But it's super nice. I like it. I think I'm going to make a sweater out of this. I have enough of it. Why not? I think I'm going to dye it a nice sort of speckled gray. And then I'll do another one in a pink, and I think I might do the Blue Hour sweater. I don't know, I'll talk more about that once I actually dye the yarn. So these are just fantasies right now. But back to this yarn, I absolutely love it, and I should, because it's my yarn. And there's the other sock. So I got both of these bad boys, and these are going to be a gift for my friend well, I found out her birthday is Wednesday. Today is Monday, October 16th, so I might give these to her for her birthday and then do something different for Christmas, maybe a hat or something when I go crazy on hats here in a month or so. So that is my first finished object. They were done cuff down, 64 stitches, then decreased to 60. It was done on a 2.5 millimeter DPNs, Carbons, and the yarn is my own yarn, Maddfuzzy. So that's my first finished object. You ready for this? My next finished object are my simple skip socks. I am just so excited that these are done. Look at the cuff on these things. Let me pull this back here. Look at this cuff. I made a super long cuff. And these are for me, so I felt like I could spend the time to do a super long cuff. This is the simple skip pattern on Ravelry. It's a free pattern, and it's just this wonderful, it's a ribbed sock with this really nice, like what they call the skip stitch, which is basically a yarn over slip stitch pattern. I then did an Eye of Partridge heel, kind of to break up all this striping. I didn't want to have the slip stitch stripes. And then I did the garter ridge pickup here. I've been doing my heels 20 rows instead of 16 as suggested by a viewer, and I just love how it feels. I just love it. But it does make this huge gusset. There's another huge gusset. And then I do a pointed toe where I decrease on the top and the bottom needle evenly, doing a decrease and then a stitch and then a row of stitches and a decrease. So it makes a little triangle toe, and I like that fit, but I am super happy with these. The yarn again is one Lupin. It is on her Knox base, which is a 100% BFL. I think it looks like a 3-ply fingering weight yarn. The only problem with it is there is no nylon content, and I really should have knitted in, you know, that heel and toe yarn that I use, but I got halfway through the heel flap and realized I was not using it, and I just said, all right, so these will probably be special occasion socks because, whoops, they're not gonna wear as long as I had hoped, but they're gorgeous. Here is the second one. The colorway is Candy Skein, which I think is so fitting. It's such great colors. I love her stuff, and I actually have another project already cast on in more One Lupin. They're a local shop. They're up in Bangor. I believe she does online sales as well. I'll include the link to her store in my show notes down below in the down bar, but she just does great stuff. She does a whole shepherd line where they are actually local sheep that she has spun by the same mill I use. So there's more than just your commercial sock yarn that she hand dyes. There's also a lot of Maine-made options. So moving on, I have, oh, sorry, these were done, cuff down on, I originally started on Carbons, and then I lost one and I switched to wood. And no wooden needles, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was gonna break one, they were hurting my hands, they were snagging. So I switched it over to Chow Goo red lace on a big long cord for magic loop. And it flew after that. I'm really glad I made that choice. I'm really glad I did. So that's probably why I have 2 finished objects instead of just 1. My next finished hoe, so I have a half finished object. Let me just play a little bit of sock blocker switch up here. Maybe I'll tell you a little story. So I went to a wedding this last weekend, and it was a great wedding. It was really nice, and I was helping the maid of honor get the bride into her dress because I was photographing it. I was just happened to be in the room, and another woman who was having some serious trouble, just not a very coordinated hands person. And so I stepped in and was helping out with that. And me and this maid of honor we're zipping through this, and I'm passing her this string, and we're lacing up this back. And at one point I turn to her and I go, "Do you knit?" And she stops and she looks at me and goes, "Yes. And I crochet as well." And I was like, yep, I knew you were a knitter. You're just way too smart with your hands. No movement is wasted, you know. Sometimes you'll watch people and they're just so fumbly, but a knitter is always using every movement to their advantage because, you know, they're going to do it for a while. So that was my little knitting anecdote for you. And which gave me enough time to get my sock blocker switched around. So my next half finished object, oh my goodness, there's so much dog hair on these socks. White Dog touches us all in her own special way. She's upstairs in her kennel, passed out. Truffle is on the couch, passed out. So let's take a look here. This, is my half finished object. These are my Stormborn socks. So this again is a Maddfuzzy sock, dyed myself this gorgeous purple for the heels and toes and cuffs and everything. And then this gorgeous blue color with the gold is Stormborn. And so this was my first attempt at a fish lips kiss heel. And I really love how it looks. I mean, it just fits in there so nicely. There's no like pooling or anything. I like how the fish lips kiss heel works. And I'm sure it is 100% user error. And I just have a lot of big holes. So I'm hoping to keep closing those in. But I got big holes on this one. I really like the heel where it comes together. That was really clean. I'm very happy with that. But got some big holes in it. And I failed to read the actual pattern for fish lips kiss. And I really need to go back and go over the whole fitting thing, because this is sorry, hold on a second here. I now have 2 fish lips kiss heel socks that don't really fit too well. And I believe the reason is 100% my fault. That I did not read the directions correctly, that I need to do something to make them fit better. So I'm gonna go over the directions again and see if I can't make a heel that fits my heel a lot better, like a heel flap and gusset does. And if I'm just hoping for something that's never going to happen, I would love to hear about that in the Ravelry group. This really is new to me, and I'm sure there are people out there who knit fish lips kiss heels all the time, and I would love to hear from you. But for me, they're just not fitting great, and I think it is 100% user error. So I'm going to go over the pattern again. I'm going to do the cardboard cutout, and I'm going to see if I can't fix this problem. So these socks are not only really poorly fitting in the heel, they just don't get enough. The heel is just not big enough. But I also messed up on the measurements for the foot. I did these toe up, and I just screwed that up royally. And so these socks are huge. And I have been going around playing like sock Cinderella. Here's like, yeah, they're huge. I went around trying them on all of my larger footed friends, and some, they're too big and they're too small. And I just haven't found the correct person for these socks yet. So they've kind of been put in timeout. I haven't cast on the second one. I might not ever cast on the second one. I might just have these as a sample sock for Maddfuzzy, because it's really unfun knitting socks for no one. They're not for me. They're not for anyone in particular. I might stash them away for some giant footed person to come into my life, but I might just never knit on them again and just use those needles for something else. I didn't think I had enough yarn left over to do the second one anyways. Now they are so huge. So they might just be a singular sock. I wouldn't expect to be seeing a finished object from them anytime soon. Now, moving on, I have another hoe. Another half object. Oh my goodness. I have a lot of casting on to do, because every one of these socks I have cast off means I got to cast on another one. I have open needles galore for lots and lots of new things for you to be seeing next week. Well, hopefully I'll be having an episode in 2 weeks. Usually I try to be on a 2-week recording schedule, but life has kind of gotten in the way and people have kind of gotten in the way. So I'm going to be throwing these episodes out as often as I can. But back to the sock parade. So my next half finished object is my Scrappy Socks. Aren't these fantastic? I am so happy. Believe it or not, these are 100% sock scraps. And every one of these is a different type of yarn, but you see like this looks like one whole sock repeat, and like these all look like they would go together. I just love how big each stripe is. It's not too big that they're abruptly ending. It looks cohesive. All the yarns kind of go together. I've had a blast knitting these. It's sort of like knitting a self-striping sock. And I'm just loving it. I did 5 rotations on my ball winder. So I did 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For each of these, I've done 20, I've done 10, I've done 15. But 5 is really my golden number. I'm really liking these. I have quite a bit of the cake left to continue. This is a magic knot cake. So if you want to look up how to do a magic knot on YouTube, I would. I just magic knot 5 rotations to 5 rotations to 5 rotations until I have this cake, and then I knit it up like a self-striping sock, and I'm just having a blast. So, things that are not so nice though. I did another Fish Slips Kiss heel, and I have holes again. I really like knitting this heel though. Like, the actual process of knitting the Fish Slips Kiss heel is wonderful. It's super simple. You're knitting a heel and then you're done with the heel. That's how it goes. You start the heel and then you're done with it. You're not knitting a heel flap for 45 minutes and then turning the heel and then picking up the stitches and you're doing the gusset. You're stockinette and then heel and then back to stockinette. And I like that. It makes it so the socks are not in limbo when I need to go out and have a quick stockinette project. It just, I don't know. I'm liking the heel. I'm just not liking my heels. And again, it's too small. This heel is so tiny. It's holy, but I am liking the join. So I think I need to revisit for the second one here. I will be casting on this second sock probably this afternoon. I'm not expecting Betsy home for hours, and Heath is at a friend's house for a while. So I kind of have the whole house to myself. I was thinking of catching up on some of the Vlogtobers. I really do like to put those off until they have like 5 or 6 new ones and then binge watch. I don't know, I'm kind of weird like that, but I do like binge watching any kind of vlogs. So like Vlogmas or Vlogtober or Vlogest. I don't do them every day. I do a big chunk of each podcaster, and I just love doing that. And there's some good Vlogtobers out there right now. So I might hang out, watch some Vlogtobers, and cast on my next stripy sock. So, one last finished object, and this is actually old. This is really old. This is all the way back from my blue Mercury socks. I keep forgetting to show you guys, but it's my tiny blue Mercury. So, in case you're new, I am doing what I'm called hashtag memory sock garland. And I am going to make a little garland of all these tiny mini socks. And these all represent, with the same yarn, the same stitch pattern, the same style, they represent each sock I have knit this year, whether for myself or someone else. So these are my blue Mercury socks, and I'm going to do a little garland of all the socks that I've knit. So when my studio upstairs is finally no longer our bedroom and we have moved into our house, I will have this great little garland of all my socks up on the wall for me to kind of look at and reminisce. It's sort of my variation of a memory sock blanket or something, but this is my memory sock garland, and I am using the hashtag memory sock garland on Instagram. So if you want to join in the fun, post your tiny socks, post your memory socks, and let me know what you're up to, because I think this is a great idea and a lot of fun. So I have memory socks to cast on for my simple skip, and I have memory socks to cast on for my Maddfuzzy. So I had a few little tiny socks for next week as well, but this is the one I keep forgetting to show you. It's the blue Mercury. And that brings me to the end of everything that I have finished. This is going to be a big episode. This is going to be a really big episode. My episodes are not normally going to be this long. Normally I try to do 30-minute episodes, but it has been so long and I have so much finished that this is going to be a bigger one. So let's move on. I actually only have one work in progress because I have cast off everything pretty much in the last week. I really only was able to cast on something just last night. So this is also one of my acquisitions, so I'm going to segue pretty smoothly into acquisitions after this. So I went up to Bangor to do a car switcheroo, and I decided I had to stop by one Lupin, and so I stopped by. Here's a picture of her tag. So she just got, oh, I lost the ball as well. So she just got a brand new label design here. So this is her tag. This is the pemmican base. Come on, focus. Oh, behind the camera is always better. So this is her pemmican base. I don't know why I'm showing you this. Sorry. Let me just read you this because you don't need to see all this. I'm just wasting your time. So this is the pemmican base. It is 434 yards, so it is a fingering weight. It is a 2-ply high twist, which I love, hence Maddfuzzy being a 2-ply high twist. This is my favorite kind of yarn. This is a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, so it is a classic sock base. Not your longest wearing, but definitely your softest. And the colorway is Zodiac. And I'm gonna get the ball. It has fallen and rolled, so bear with me for one moment. Ugh. Whew, and I'm back, sorry. All right, so this is balled by hand because one, Lupin doesn't double tie their skeins, and despite my love for her yarn and her colorways, because this is just a gorgeous colorway, I am in love with it. There's browns, there's blues, there's pinks, there's golds. It's just every color, and it's going to be absolutely out of this world. But she doesn't do 2 ties. The skeins, I'm sure they are probably already pre-skeined, and she dyes them. But there is only one tie where the 2 ends are tied together and then they're tied around. This means if one string gets over to the other side, because there's not 2 ties on either end, when I do my yarn skeins for Maddfuzzy, I tie one end and the other, and then I tie the 2 ends together, and they're not all the same. So I have 1 point and 2 points, so if a piece gets out, you can always tell that it's not on the correct side of the skein. Am I making sense here? Anyway, the outcome is there being a loop, so when you're skeining it up on your Swift, it gets to be caught, and it was just this huge mess, and I was tired and I was hungry last night, and after trying to cake this yarn up 2 or 3 times, I just said, screw it, I am balling this by hand. So I balled this by hand. This is my gorgeous handiwork, but look at this yarn. I am just so in love with this colorway. I was going to make it into a pair of Christmas socks for my mother, but I realized she probably would want some Maddfuzzy socks and not commercially made socks. So I'm going to make these into some kind of a pattern sock. I was going to do the cuff and then decide the pattern sock when I got there. And I've been looking at Ravelry all morning. I think there's this great Grasshopper Twist sock that I'm going to try. It's a free pattern, so that's my evil plan. And I have not gotten very far, so I don't even have to really think about this too much. This is my little humble beginnings of a sock, 2x2 rib. I cast on using the cast on that Betsy taught me, that is in an earlier episode. I do a little short video on how I cast on. I do a foundation row, so let's get real close here. Here we go. Come on, baby. Focus for me. I do a foundation row along the top of just single stockinette, and then I go into my ribbing, and honestly, I really like how that looks. When it sort of folds on itself as ribbing does, it really blends in nicely, and I really like how it looks. So I'm going to try to highlight a little piece of every sock that I do. And I would love if you would take the time to kind of zero in on a sock technique you really like. So if there is something you do specifically because you love it, please put it in the hashtag all I talk about is socks thread. I would really like to know how people make their socks feel and look polished to them. So you know me, I'm all about that garter ridge that I pick up. I'm all about this, I'm all about that, and I always tell you my opinions on things, but I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what's out there. So I cast on using my cast on. I do 1 row of just plain stockinette before I go into my 2x2 rib. So that's how I start every sock. How do you start every sock? Please let me know. I am so curious. I want to know how socks are being made everywhere from everyone. There are people out there, I'm sure, that have that pattern memorized, that make the same sock over and over again. And I want to know what you do. So please share. That's the hashtag all I talk about is socks in our Ravelry group. Please go on over, let me know. Zoom in, tell me just about one small detail. It would make me so happy. So that is my little work in progress. I am so happy with it. It shall be whatever it shall be, but always moving towards either Christmas gifts or box of socks cowl. One or the other. It's gonna either be for someone or it's gonna be for myself. So moving on to my next acquisition, I told you this was going to be kind of a segue. So the Common Ground Fair happened here in Waldo County, Maine. and that is at the Mofka Fairgrounds, and that's the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association, and they do this big celebration of rural living, big fair every year. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I went on the Friday and of course did a little bit of yarn shopping, a little bit of wool shopping. It's all locally produced, so it has to be I believe it's something like 80% of it has to be produced by the farmer or locally in Maine. Especially for yarn, they're very strict about everything. So every food vendor has to be local and organic, and it's really nice. It creates a very niche marketplace, and so I always pick up some great stuff there. So one of the things I was really hoping to pick up was a skein of Good Karma Farms, who is located in Belfast, one of their sock skeins, and they're really all about the sock knitting machines. So they have a mill, they make a really great sock yarn. So this is the skein I purchased. So this is, they raise Icelandic sheep, but I'm not sure this is an Icelandic. It doesn't really feel like it. But so this is the skein. Here is a look at their little tag. It's the smallest tag ever. It doesn't even have fiber content on it, but there we go. So it is their sock yarn, hand painted, Good Karma Farm. They have a website, but I just love the colors here. It's gonna be kind of carnival-y. Probably maybe a vanilla sock or a very simple pattern sock. But that was one of my first purchases, and that is what I planned to purchase at Common Ground. But as I was running around, let me get this, put it in my lap here. As I was running around there, I found in, pardon the crinkle, one of the farmer tents. So this means that the vendor had to have raised the fiber. I found this woman. I had purchased from her before. She does, she'll dye the yarn and then she sends it, or she dyes the fleeces and then sends it to the mill to be turned into roving. So, oh my goodness, look at that. I'm just like, is this the bag reflecting up? Or this book? Here, let me move that. Whew. That was some serious underlighting there. Fire that lighting director, jeez. That'll look good. Just kidding. Anyway, so this woman, I had bought fiber from her before, and she sends it to the mill to be turned into roving, and so everything's blended. And unfortunately, she was going, I guess, out of business. She had sold her flock. This was the end of her supply. She was done. And so all of her giant bags of roving, we're talking like 1.5 to 2 pounds of roving in these hideous colors. I mean, just like ridiculous colors. We're at absurd prices, like 24 ounces for $20 of 100% wool. And they were like neons and just like, colors, just, oh my goodness. They were obviously what was left over. And I thought, you know, oh my goodness, this price, it's so phenomenal, I should get one. And then I thought, what am I gonna do with 24 ounces of like a color that I'm never going to want on anything? Like, I don't want a sweater out of like salmon pink and green. That's disgusting. I don't want anything like that. So I decided to look for maybe something that was undyed. So I went and looked, and I was with my friend Kate, and we found 2 bags of fiber. One that was just 100% wool, and one that was a wool mohair blend. And I said, hey, have you ever dyed anything? And she hadn't ever done any dyeing. So we each bought one of these bags of yarn, or I'm sorry, bags of roving to dye together, hopefully, and do something with. So I bought 10 ounces of a mohair wool blend. And I paid $10 for 10 ounces. I was like sticker shocked. I couldn't believe it. So I got it home and realized that maybe it had kind of like been hanging out too much with itself. You see what's going on here? It's like, seriously felt it. And some of it drafts well, some of it doesn't. It has clearly been riding around in this bag for a very long time. So I decided I'm gonna get this crinkle off my lap. That I'm going to break it into 2-ounce portions. I'm going to dye those 2-ounce portions, and then I'm going to run them through my drum carder and do some really fun blended bats. Maybe add in some exotic fibers like dog hair or something like that. And I'm going to turn this roving into bats instead of spinning it as roving, because I think I'm just going to struggle with it. I'm going to have fun and then it's going to get felted and then I'm going to not have so much fun and I'm going to give it up. So I think I'm going to turn it into bats. So that should be something to look forward to in the near future, dyeing and turning that into bats. Hopefully when I have my studio. Oh my goodness. We need to move out of this house so I can have our bedroom as like my playland. So that brings me to the end of my acquisitions. That is all I've purchased, but I am very happy with each one of those purchases. I think when you don't have as many, it makes them pretty special. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something cool that a friend of mine is doing and I got to help out on. So my friend Kirsten Nielson is a homesteader in the area and a prolific writer, and she has been published in several books, several magazines recently. She's doing a lot on raising of poultry and geese, and she just has a great writing style. She's super awesome. Oh man, I am out of focus. Come on, Marta. There we go, get back in. There you go, camera. Look right here. These are the eyes. So, sorry guys. It really likes that fridge back there, doesn't it? There we go. So she has actually written a book and been published. So she has written a book, been published, and then she asked me to take pictures for her book. And so I have pictures in a published book. And the book is, here we go. Oh, come on, focus. The Modern Homesteader's Guide to Keeping Geese. Oh my goodness. And there's a little picture of the beautiful and wonderful Kirsten. She's young, she's my age, pre-30. And this book is just jam-packed with great photos and tons of information. So if you are at all interested in raising geese, this is a must. And if you're interested in sort of homesteading in Maine and what goes along with that, she has a website. It's on the back here, and I'll put it in the show notes. It's hostelvalleyliving.com. So head on over. She also has a gorgeous Instagram. If you want a gorgeous homesteading Instagram, check out Hostel Valley Living. I'm going to put all this information in the show notes down in the down bar, because if you're interested at all in raising sort of the bird animals of homesteading, this girl is your expert. And she's really getting into goats right now and has a nice little herd of goats and a brand new puppy. And yeah, good Instagram to follow. And if you're interested, this book is just now released. Check it out. Check out our website. And thanks for everything, Kirsten. I'm so glad I could be a part of it. So that's that. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Common Ground Fair and what I did at the Common Ground Fair this year. So if you are here only for the knitting stuff, thanks for sticking around. I'm kind of going to go off fiber topic here. I am going to talk a little bit about fiber as far as what I saw at the Common Ground Fair. But most of this next segment is going to be all about my life in general and where we are in the house and all the good stuff and what we're watching. So if you were, again, here for the knitting, thank you so much for stopping by. It has been a pleasure talking to you. If you like this video, please do hit that little thumbs up button. It helps me get recognized on YouTube and recommended to more people. Always subscribe. I do try to put out an episode every 2 weeks. I do try. I really do. I try. So subscribe, you'll get notified whenever it is up and a new video is ready. And join the Ravelry group. We would love to have you there. Introduce yourself, be one of those last 40 to be in the drawing for that skein of yarn. And yeah, I'll see you in a little bit. But if you're here for the long haul, then have a seat, grab your knitting, let's talk about my life. So the Common Ground Fair. 63,000 people came to the Common Ground Fair this year. It was absolutely the biggest year. And it was gorgeous weather, just absolutely perfect. It was warm, it was, it wasn't that fall chill, it wasn't damp, it was perfect. So I got there and I did 2 demos on the Friday. I went to a drum carding demo, which was very, very basic. There wasn't a lot of information that I didn't already know. It was kind of like this is a drum carder and how you use it. And I really wanted, this is a drum carder, this is how you use it, and this is all the things you can do with it. I wanted it to be more but it really wasn't. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the most informative thing I had been to. And then at 1 o'clock on the Friday, I went to a lecture by Heather of Highland Handmaids. She is another indie dyer in Maine. And she does gorgeous stuff. She has a wonderful website. She also has a really great podcast, one of the first podcasts I ever watched. It is the Fiberista Files, and you can find her on Instagram and on Ravelry and on YouTube by typing in, I believe her channel name is Highland Handmaids, but you can also find it by putting in Fiberista Files. And she does a really good podcast, and she literally just started back up doing it, and she's put out 3 episodes pretty back to back. So check her out. She's wonderful, but she's even more wonderful in person, and she put together this fantastic presentation on fiber press, and it had a great name. It was Locks. Oh, I can't remember it. Anyway, it was like a pun on lock, stock, and barrel. And she did fiber prep, doing with hand cards versus drum carding versus combing versus spinning from the lock, and went over all of that. And it was just phenomenal. And I got a chance to talk to her afterwards, as well as Jody from Lupin. And it was sort of like this little meeting and meet and greet. And I told her about the podcast. So I hope she is watching. I hope you're watching, Heather, because I really enjoyed your presentation at the fair. So that was what happened at the Common Ground Fair. Of course, I ate some really good food and looked around at all the vendors and had a great time and chatted. And then, went home and went to bed early because it was a very long day. And then this last weekend was the Maine State, I think it was the Maine Cheese Festival put on by the Maine Cheese Guild. And that was the second year that it happened, and it was the second time that I had been there with Springdale Farm. We produce cream cheese and bloomy rind cheeses and a queso fresco that is just out of this world. And we had a big booth, 2 tents. We were sampling sausage, and it was a great weekend. The Sunday was a little bit cold. There was a kind of it'll mist in New England. It's not raining, but it's wet everywhere. Like I'm under the tent and I'm just getting misted on. And so every piece of paper is wet and droopy and your pens won't work. But after about noon, it kind of blew off and didn't ever become sunny, but definitely got less wet. And we did a really great business there. It was so much fun to see all my friends in the cheese making world. And it was a really, really good time. Really good bands, really good food. And so we were slinging that cream cheese. And I had made, oh my goodness, I had made like 75 cheese balls and all these carrot cake spreads. And there was pictures at the beginning of the episode of all that good stuff. But that was a lot of fun. That was a big event for us. And the next thing we'll be going to is Harvest Fest, which is in Bangor the 11th and 12th of November. And that's a big event for us. We do a lot of cream cheese. We do a lot of beef and veal. And rumor has it that not only is one Lupin going to be at Harvest Fest this year, but also Highland Handmaids is going to be at Harvest Fest this year. So I am going to be doing a little yarn shopping, on the clock, actually. So I will probably escape our booths one of those days and probably put away a little budget to buy myself something special. So let me take a look at this like completely outdated show notes that I was thinking about. So we have been working on the house, very diligently working on the house. We have the first floor completely wrapped in plastic. We have windows in, and we have been meeting with roofers nonstop to see if we can get the roof on before the end of October. And the general consensus is no. And I'm also really surprised by how little people are listening to us. We were saying we want this and this and this and this, and they're sending us these quotes for just this or just that. Like we need the Advantex put down on top of the rafters and then the roof put on top of that. Sorry, I'm out of focus again. A little closer. Blink. And nobody's listening to us, and they're just giving us quotes for just the metal roofing. And so we finally had a guy come out today, and he did a quote for the whole thing, but it was pretty expensive. And so we're kind of going through our Rolodex and seeing who we can call and how we're going to get this roof on. So it's pretty stressful. A lot of things are up in the air, but at the same time, a lot of things are getting done. I have 2 of the 9 windows in. All we have to do is wrap the next floor and put the rest of the windows in. I think we're going to get a really long day of work tomorrow with nice sunshine to get even more windows in. So I did include some pictures at the beginning, as always, of the house and how it's coming. But I really want my own house. I really would like to be moving in fairly soon. I want my studio. I want to start this dye business. And speaking of the dye business, I put in my notice at my bartending job, so I will have every Sunday now instead of every other Sunday off. And I had a nice sit-down chat with my boss at the farm about cutting back to not like serious part-time, but definitely less than full-time. And so I can really work on Maddfuzzy for the winter. And I'm hoping that this business picks up. I've found a couple more producers of wool who really don't have an outlet for it. Some more fiber-specific sheep rather than East Friesian, which is mostly a meat and milk sheep. I'm looking into a BFL cross and a BFL ram, and I'm very excited to try new bases. I think Maddfuzzy is going to be expanding exponentially this winter. And so I'm hoping you're along for the ride, and I'm hoping this podcast is along for the ride. And I'm hoping also that means getting more episodes out more regularly. Yeah, it would really be nice to have a weekly podcast, but we'll see what happens. I had a friend try to get me Final Cut Pro, and it didn't work on my computer, so I'm still stuck editing with iMovie, which is frustrating and takes forever. So I think a podcast update, like, really a little small investment into making a regular podcast is in order, and I'm hoping to be talking to you a lot more during this winter. We also... it is, of course, apple cider season here at the Shire, so we brought out our Whiz Bang apple grinder, which I made out of a garbage disposal and stainless steel sink that I found on Craigslist. I'll show you a little video of that right here. And then we have a 2-basket press that we press the cider with, and we made 3 gallons of hard cider so far and almost 10 gallons of sweet cider. And it goes really fast with that apple grinder. We collected all the apples from the farm, Springdale Farm, which is down the road from my house, and we still haven't even touched our orchard. But something very exciting happened, and we got that road done, so we can actually drive our truck up into the orchard to collect all those apples. So maybe a little later in the week we'll do another apple grinding and pressing and get that turned into hard cider, because 3 gallons of hard cider is not enough for us. We're gonna need a lot more than that. But I had a great day with Betsy collecting apples and pressing cider, and my friend Brittany came over and pressed cider with us as well. And it was a lot of fun. I've just been working and having fun. I've been working more days of the week than I usually do due to these festivals, and we've been working a lot on, getting ready for winter. It's a real thing that happens here in Maine. Wood needs to be stacked and brought in. We need to get the windows out of the woodshed so we can put the wood in there, and we need steps on our house so we can get up into our house. And there's a long list of things to do before the snow flies. And I think that's pretty consistent with a lot of people in Maine. There's a lot of things to be done before winter comes, and then it's this hurry up and wait. And so once everything's done, then there's just a lot of time to sit by a fire and knit. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm also hoping to do a couple days a week with a farm down the road in Freedom that weaves baskets. Oh yeah, basket weaving may be coming on this podcast here soon, because I'm hoping once a week to be, or at least once a week to be at that farm weaving baskets with her. She sells them at lots of farmers markets. I do 3 farmers markets with her. And she sells these gorgeous baskets, and you can see them as they, like, somebody will come by your booth and you'll see that gorgeous basket. And you're like, you went to Hubbard Brook Farm and got that basket. So I'm going to make a couple. I'm hoping to do maybe gift baskets for Christmas, but just mostly spend some great time with a really kick-ass woman. Sorry for my profane language, but she truly is kick-ass. And weaving baskets. And those are my winter plans. Work less, knit more, make baskets, make Maddfuzzy a reality. That's my plan. And oh, podcast more regularly. Maybe be better on Instagram and Ravelry. I don't know. Now we're getting crazy. Now I'm going on to the second hand, and that's too long of a list. And this has kind of been too long of a segment. So I'm gonna see you later. Let's say goodbye. Thank you for sticking with me in this super long episode of Maddfuzzy. Super long. And all the whips. We'll get back to normal now that we've cleared the plate. We'll be back to normal, and I should be coming to you in 2 weeks with a really fun little segment. I'm hoping Betsy will be on that podcast to show you all the things she has pickled and preserved this year. It's a lot. I may fill the gap in knitting content with pickles, but that's something I do regularly. Again, for watching this lengthy episode of the Maddfuzzy podcast. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks with lots of knitting. I hope you have a wonderful 2 weeks. And as always, enjoy your knitting. Thank you. Bye.